and we'll get to your questions right away. We will also have our Zoom admin here. If you ever have any trouble connecting or getting into the Zoom webinar, I know we have friends who are live streaming from YouTube right now, um, and also we also have interpreter to Indonesian available as well. So if you would like to use that feature, you can head down to the interpretation button, also on the bottom of the screen, and just choose the Indonesian option. Okay. All right. And without further ado, I think now let's meet our presenter right away. As Mbak Pira has introduced her, Carla is an American mezzo soprano singer who's not only talented in her craft, but has also made very crucial contribution to the Arts Envoy program and to give voice to issues of identity and culture through music and conversation, and to promote cross-cultural understanding through the Canales project. So please welcome everyone, Carla Canales.
Thank you so much, Ajung. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Pira, thank you. I'm really honored to have the opportunity to speak with you today. I want to thank everyone who's been involved in making this happen at the State Department level, the embassy level, JPAC. Your whole team has thoroughly impressed me. So I want to say just a few words of introduction. I feel very flattered that you read such a biography, and I listen and I think, well, who is that person? And you know, to me, it always seems so unlikely that I would be a singer. My mother is Mexican, my father is Bulgarian, and I was the firstborn American in my family. And I was really just a little girl who loved to sing and had this dream of singing. And I share that because I feel if it happened for me, it can happen for anyone of you. I know I've gotten to hear a lot of your singing already through the videos that were submitted, and also in studying the videos of your past performances. And gosh, you have much more talent than I ever had. So I'm so impressed with the level of talent and obviously commitment and dedication. And I really want to emphasize that if this is something that you want to do, you have everything to do it. You have all of the support in the world. And I'm here just as one piece of that support. I will be leaving my email in the chat box. So, you know, I know our time today is limited, but if you have further questions, I hope you'll reach out to me. And I'm just really looking forward. So I'll toss it back to you, Ajung. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and let's get started.
Thank you so much, Carla. We're so excited. And how are things going currently for you, by the way? Are you based in New York?
I am normally based in New York City. On this occasion, we've come out to the beach. So I'm a little bit tentative here. Just I have a dog and it's a new space, and I hope that there's no unexpected barking but we've been very lucky actually with the vaccination situation in New York City. I've been fully vaccinated for a few months. And as you may know, the Broadway community is making plans to come back to performances very soon. So I think the whole community in the arts here is really looking forward to things getting back to some sort of new normal in the coming months.
Yes, we're so excited, and we're glad to see you. We're glad to hear things are getting much better as well in New York, and things are sort of going back to normal, or some in the ways that we can. We're so excited for Broadway to come back. We're so excited for arts and culture um, to be happening again. And so, before we got into the video, how's life been this past year and a half? How are you?
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a great question. You know, I think we've all learned a lot in this time, and for that, I'm very grateful. Obviously, I wish it hadn't come at the price of such tragedy and the global toll that this virus has taken, particularly in countries outside of the US, is just something that makes me terribly sad. I think we are learning about how we can connect through this pandemic. And so I try to look on the bright side. For instance, here we are. I'm in, outer New York, and you're in Jakarta, and we're talking, which is really incredible that we can do this via Zoom. And in the same vein, I've been able to study. I've actually started a fellowship at Harvard University where I'm really working on cultural entrepreneurship. And it's been incredible to utilize the time of the COVID pandemic to further study, because my goal is really to analyze and find new ways and innovative ways in which we can utilize the technology to help us connect across cultures and across country borders through the arts. And I think that we've seen with COVID that nothing can stop us with the arts. Even if it's just me singing in my bathroom, I need to sing. And there's a very famous quote. It's something like, I'm not happy because I sing because I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I think or maybe it's the other way around. I'll have to send it to you. But at any rate, I think one thing I really want to discuss today is the power of singing. It's something that comes from our own body and our own individual voice. And to be a singer in many ways is to be a dreamer. It's to be an artist, to want to fill the world with some element of beauty that comes from your own being. And I think that desire to make music and make sound through our voice is our most precious commodity as singers. When we lose that desire, whether it's because of depression or sadness or a pandemic, and there are many logical reasons, but we lose something that's so precious to us. And so I really want us to cultivate why we sing, why it's important to each of us, and why it's important to the world that we keep singing. That's at the heart of what I'll talk about today. You may not see it as connected to technique. I do. So maybe I can share my views and hopefully learn also from our singers today.
That's very beautifully said. Thank you so much. I do believe that, we have a lot of very passionate, very talented singers attending and watching here today. And I think life finds a way, doesn't it? Like singing finds a way. So, like, even though, it's a terrible circumstance, of course. And we are sort of like on a survival mode, but still,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
art is part of surviving as well. And it's really beautiful to see that still see that bloom even in such a difficult time. Right. So we're gonna see. So Carla has prepared a video of sort of like a day in the life, the beginning of your journey as a singer, as an artist. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're gonna see?
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was really a privilege to film this in my home. Under normal circumstances, I wish I could invite you all to come to my home. And certainly during the lockdown, it was different because normally I travel between 200 and 300 days of the year. So as a soloist, my role is to audition and be hired potentially by different companies. And of course, I pack my bag and I go wherever I'm hired. So, the pandemic definitely stopped all of that. I had a lot of engagements that I was looking forward to, that I had prepared for. And unfortunately, it was something that was necessary. My home studio became my everyday office. So I really have kept up a routine of practicing every day at the piano, you will see. And I think that that's the most important thing. In many ways, I see this as athletic, because if I don't exercise this muscle every day, I'll feel it. Like if I don't sing for 2 or 3 days, then I go, oh, it's a little bit rusty. So I just wanted to maybe impart some of my experiences with that, and also I'm a big believer, and this is the last thing I'll say. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. My canon, my tradition of singing came to me from teachers. And this is how singing works, particularly classical singing, but really Broadway singing and most singing traditions are passed on orally. There's no book, there's no handbook of how to do this. Nowadays, in the last especially 10, 15, 20 years, we're seeing more videos, more audio, that can help teach. And I think that's really great. But the tradition of singing, particularly opera singing, has been passed on for generations and centuries, obviously. And so it's my pleasure and my responsibility to pass what I know to the next generation. And I could really talk about that all day. I chose opera because it felt to me like the most technically sound art form. In other words, if I could understand basic opera technique, bel canto technique, it would allow me to sing for the longest amount of time in a healthy way where I wasn't straining my voice, and potentially also allow me to do other types of singing. And I love and sing frequently Broadway repertoire. I put out a pop album earlier this year, actually 2 pop albums. So I love to play with other genres. But I think that this basic technique is super important for me. And that's really something I wanted to share with everyone. And you'll see a little bit in the video about that.
All right. Thank you so much. We're very excited
Thank
uh,
you.
to see this. So we're gonna see sort of like a snippet of Carla's performance in Carmen, in Bizet's Carmen, and then we're gonna head straight on to Carla's video and see sort of like a day in the life and the beginning of singing at of an opera and the artistic journey for her, and also some tips as well for us singers out here. So, Rio, please take it away.
Thank you.
Hi, come on in. I'm Carla and welcome to my home. I'm so excited to have you here and I can't wait to talk about my favorite subject, singing. Please come on in. Welcome to my home. I'm really excited to have this opportunity on behalf of the US State Department to tell you a little bit about my career and my love for singing. I am the daughter of a Mexican mother and a Bulgarian father, and I grew up actually speaking English as my third language. So when I discovered singing, to me, this was a just incredible world where my 2 passions, language and music, were combined. And I knew from a very young age that I wanted to pursue this professionally. I really got my start through my high school choir, and it was in that opportunity that I was able to learn how to read music and to perform with a group. And so by the time I wanted to attend university, I had a little bit of experience and did my auditions and was accepted into the University of Michigan, where I did my undergraduate. I realized early on that learning more languages would be very important for me as an opera singer. And I should tell you that I didn't necessarily think I would go into opera, but I found that as I studied the craft of singing and the technique of singing, it seemed to me to be a very, very smart decision to learn how to better understand the voice, the technique behind the voice, and the physiology behind the voice in order to sing not just opera, but also musical theater or jazz. So I feel very strongly that having a good technical foundation allows me to move and try different genres. But of course, as I mentioned, in opera, it's important to also sing in different foreign languages. And so I focused quite a bit in my early years on learning French, learning Italian, and learning German. I went on to study my master's degree at McGill University in Montreal, and I also obtained a degree in Paris at the Conservatory, as well as doing some adjacent programs in Salzburg at the Mozarteum, in Italy at the Accademia Rossiniana, and also the Chigiana Institute. I was fortunate to make my debut in my dream role, which is Carmen. I was 23 years old, and this took place in Toronto. But I knew even at that young age that my voice still needed to mature more. So while I was starting to sing some roles, I wanted to keep studying my technique. Eventually did more school at the Academy of Vocal Arts in Philadelphia, which is a school only for opera singing. And then when I was in my later 20s, I was able to really focus on a full-time operatic career for the past 15 years or so. So really the first lesson I want to leave you with is the importance of good technique, because our passion for singing can get us very far, and it's the most important thing to connect with an audience. But I think having a good technique is key to a long career. It's key to healthy singing, and it's key to being able to communicate the kinds of things that you want to communicate through the music, but really require having a good knowledge and understanding of technique. So I've told you a bit about why I think technique is very, very important. But along with technique, of course, it's our job as singers to develop our voice literally and figuratively. Who are we as people, and what kind of repertoire speaks to us? I mentioned the role of Carmen, and this has really been a beloved role for me because first and foremost, she was my Latina role model as a kid. I remember hearing that opera when I was young. My father really introduced me to opera. It was a big part of his Bulgarian heritage. And when I first saw this character, well, she was Latina, and so it connected to my mom's side. And I think that personal connection to this character was really what drove my passion for singing the character so often. I've had the good fortune to sing Carmen close to 100 times now in different countries. So it's very important to choose repertoire that you feel a personal connection to. Beyond Carmen, for me, I tend to really enjoy playing strong female characters. And that, is something that I identify with and that I feel excited about. So I would really leave you with this question of what kind of character, what kind of music, what kind of aesthetic speaks to you? And that's a difficult question to answer. But I think that getting to know yourself, seeing your own personality develop, maybe asking some people around you, well, what do you think I'm like? Am I strong? Am I more sensitive? And finding characters that play to your strengths. This is a really, really important thing because remember, when you're on stage, we as artists, we have to have two qualities. I think that's really the most important thing. One is we have to have the confidence to sing in front of an audience, to bare our souls, to put our voice on display and to show, of course, our emotion. But we also have to have the vulnerability to do those things. It takes courage, but it also takes a real kind of tender emotional vulnerability to be willing to show not only that side of the character, but that side of yourself. So the more that you can explore yourself and what connects to your strengths, and also understand what does not connect to your strengths. I think that that kind of exploration is really, really useful for choosing repertoire. I think it's extremely important to choose repertoire that is well suited to your personality, but also, of course, to your voice. And this really combines the first and second point I'd like to make about your technique and, of course, your personality. In opera and in musical theater and in all genres, we have to analyze our range. I, for instance, I'm a mezzo soprano, which means I don't sing quite as high as sopranos. And even though I might have those notes, I don't feel comfortable to stay at that high tessitura for a long time. So I feel a little more comfortable in a lower tessitura. In the Broadway world, this really translates to belting, and you might feel comfortable having a low belt that you can bring up higher. But you might also be a soprano who has a very strong head voice, and that's where you feel the most comfortable. That might be classified as a soprano in the head voice and as a mezzo soprano in the chest voice. And I think it's important as you discover your voices to understand those distinctions, always working to try to grow on the things that you don't feel as strong, but to present yourself with your strengths. So as you choose repertoire, of course, bear in mind the temperament of the character, but also bear in mind your vocal abilities. And this brings me to my fourth point, which is perhaps the most important point for us as singers. The number one thing that we have to do is stay healthy. I often think when I go on an engagement, my work of learning the score is done, my work of memorizing it and putting it into my voice and my body and the character and all of the interpretive questions, I've done that work. But if I get sick, then I might have to cancel. And all of that work was for nothing, unfortunately. In our business, which is a very tough business, it's extremely important to remember that our instrument is a part of our body and that our whole physical being must be in the best condition possible. And that's a very hard thing to accomplish every day. So I want to talk a little bit about that and maybe share some tips with you that I've learned. I know for me, getting a lot of sleep, drinking a lot of water, at least 8 glasses a day. In addition, I try to take some vitamin C supplements or any kind of supplements that I feel will help my immune system. Eating healthy. In general, I don't drink too much coffee. And as much as I love spicy food, I try to maybe not have spicy food right before I have to sing, because we want to make sure that our vocal cords are not damaged in any way and that they're fresh. And also, very importantly, our speaking voice. If I have a performance coming up or if I have many performances consecutively, it's important for me to monitor how much speaking do I have to do. I'll avoid places like noisy restaurants or football games because I don't want to have to shout. So all of these things that have to do with vocal fitness, if you will, or vocal health are extremely important in our business because, as I said, all of that hard work and preparation that you've done may not serve in the end if, you fall sick to a cold or anything where you're a little under the weather, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So I think we've covered a lot of ground here with these tips, but I want to come to one final tip, which is really the most important. The thing that I'm looking for the most and the thing that excites me the most is having a clear knowledge, a clear understanding of why I sing or why another singer is singing to me or why anybody goes on this journey to become a singer. Our business is, as I've mentioned, a very tough one, which requires a lot of sacrifice, not only for what we do physically, but for our health, even on the times we're not singing, taking care of our bodies. But ultimately, we have to have a very keen understanding of why all of this sacrifice. And of course, you know the answer to that. It's a passion. It's this burning desire to share and express your emotions through the power of singing. And to me, I've analyzed this question a lot, having now been a singer for quite some time. And every day or every performance, I need to have that answer to why am I singing today fresh in my mind. And I can share with you that today, my answer is that not only do I believe in the power of song, the power of the voice to change the world, I know that this can happen because when I hear music, when I hear a song, when I see a great performance, that has the power to be a gateway or a tool, if you will, to transport me to another place, something outside of my ordinary home and my regular life, but to a place of my imagination, a place where I can dream of a better world, of more solutions for all of the challenges that we see today, of kindness, of love, of compassion. And that's really the place where the imagination is unleashed and we come back from that journey and that experience and can do better work in the world and be better people. So that's my reason for singing. I hope that you'll share with me your reasons for singing. And I hope you'll just think about this question every time you sing, because it's not about the technique and about all of these words and memorization and all of the things we go in our minds and in our practice to do. Those are tools. But what I think singing is really about is that transportation to a world of imagination, a world of possibility, which in turn can make our humanity better. Okay, we've talked about some of the bigger issues, some of the philosophy about singing, and sort of how to take care of ourselves as artists, as singers, and as human beings. But now, what I'd really like to talk to you a little bit about are some of the lessons I've learned about the business of singing and about the technique of singing. So, first of all, I'm happy to introduce you to my little book. This book has been with me for maybe 25 years. But in this book, I write everything. So this is my first piece of advice to you. We cannot expect ourselves to remember everything from every teacher, from every lesson, or every video clip we've seen. But we can expect ourselves to write down the things that are useful to us. So for the last 25 years, anytime I had a voice lesson or I had a meeting with my manager and something was important, I have written it down in this book. And I go back to this book all of the time. Sometimes I need to work on my chest voice. So I'll say, oh, okay, I have some exercises here. And as you can see, it's quite messy. But I can find my way around this and go, oh, I should do that exercise today. Or I might be teaching a young student who's struggling with the breathing. So I can say, oh, yeah, let me look at my book and what were the exercises my teachers gave me for that. So number one lesson, keep a book, write everything down. It'll be with you for a long time, and it's a great tool. Second thing, in this book, not only do I write down singing technique tips, but I've really tried to approach my career from a business standpoint. What are my goals? What do I need to do to achieve those goals? How can I analyze myself? Well, I take a tip from business school, which is a SWOT analysis. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities I have? And what might be the threats that I face? For instance, if I were to do that today, a strength would be I speak several languages, so I can sing very comfortably. A weakness might be that, well, let's say I'm quite tall, so a casting director may not want to cast someone who is as tall as me in a certain role. An opportunity might be, for instance, I think there are many new opportunities coming to do video work or to do different kinds of things on Spotify and more digital platforms. And a threat might be, well, do I have enough funding to accomplish those things? So these are the kinds of ways I want you to think about yourself and your goals. And I highly encourage you to keep lists of your goals. Where would you like to be in 6 months? Where would you like to be a year? And again, write them down because you can go back and take a look at them and make a strategy for yourself. So those are some of the sort of business tools. Think also about the people that can help you, whether it's a friend or a teacher or maybe a parent or a colleague. Who can you turn to that can help you develop as an artist? This is our kind of board of directors, if you will. It's our committee of people who support us. And it may not be formal in the way of a business, but it's very important that you do think of yourself as a singer as a business, because what you do is run a business, and that's the business of your artistry. So let's get to the fun part. Let's talk about being an artist. One of the things that's very important to me is a daily practice routine. I highly recommend for each of you to at least find a 15 to 20-minute exercise routine that you can do. I like to recommend it daily, but maybe five, 6 times a week. And that way you can check in on your voice. You can get to know your instrument, see what's easier for you, what might be a little harder. And especially if you are feeling sick one day, you'll probably notice what gets affected. So this is extremely important to me. It's something I do pretty much every morning. And I'd like to share some of the tips that I do with you. I hope to be able to share more when we meet each other in the live event. First of all, it's really important to me to stretch my body because the instrument is, of course, in our vocal cords, but our whole body should be a part of the vibrating mechanism for our voice. So I will start with doing some simple yoga. I especially try to stretch the space between my ribs. So I might do something like this to one side and then this to another side. I'll try to make sure that I can bend my neck to both sides, down and back. And then I'll start to just do some simple massaging to my face. And I like to get a little silly with this. So I might do something like, really to loosen everything up. For me, it's very important to remember that these sinuses here that we have in the forehead and in the face are resonators for our voice. So even though the cords produce the sound, everything that happens in your head helps to make that sound resonate. And it's the resonance that really is what we hear as a public. So I'll spend some time really kind of making sure everything is nice and loose. And then to take that last example, I will do what I call lip trills. So it's very simple. You're just blowing out air from your lips on a pitch. So I could take a simple pitch like this and go. And this exercise coordinates not just the pitch and the looseness of all of these muscles, but of course the air. So one of the first things I would like to do is just do a simple pitch like that for as long as possible. Maybe I time myself, maybe it's 10 seconds, 15 seconds, just to get that air moving. Then I'll progress to something like, so that I'm doing these 3 pitches, but I'm still trying to keep everything nice and loose. So let's do a few of those. Now, if you'd like to advance this exercise, you may want to do a full arpeggio, like, which gives it a little bit more length, a little bit more range, but doing just the 3 notes is just fine too. Now, after I've done the lip trills, I will advance to doing something which are rolled R's. So it goes a little bit like this. And in this case, my tongue is loose in order to utilize the air to produce the rolled R. So I'll do the same exercise, but this time with the rolled R. So pretty simple. I'm not really focused on the phonation of the voice yet, but what I'm looking for is just a very relaxing kind of natural way to get my voice vibrating and my air supported. Final one here. Now this one is hard. Is it possible to take the same principles and have your tongue be loose and your lips be loose at the same time? Well, this would be the following exercise. And I'll do it on a descending 5-note scale. First, just one note. So it's a little bit tricky to do, but once you get the hang of it. These exercises are very important. They're sort of the fundamentals because, as you know, the pitch is created in the vocal cords, and as it comes up, we have the tongue muscle, which is a very strong muscle, and the lip muscles, which form the vowels and they form the consonants. And so we want those muscles to be as relaxed as possible. And these exercises help us to create the pitch, to connect to the airflow, but to have those muscles relaxed. So I always start with those exercises. I should also say, I think it's very important to do some breathing exercises. And one of the ones I like the most, I will challenge you on this. I put my hand here, and it's a simple exercise just to do as my dog does, panting. So this is like, right? I could slow it down. I could do it quicker. So the real challenge is to be able to do it slow or fast, but for a long time. So and I would time myself to try to get longer in length as an exercise. So the air is really the fundamental which creates all of the sound. If we don't have an airflow, we have nothing to send through the vocal cords to create that sound. I'll talk again more about this when we meet in June, but for now I wanted to give you some examples that might help you at home. One final example, just to get started with phonation or creation of the sound. Again, without a focus on loud sound or even beautiful sound, I'm just going to look for the beginning tone of my voice for the chords to meet together on a very simple staccato, right? So I would do it maybe on an E vowel. E, 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 E. E, 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 E. E, 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 E. You can try to do it a little faster. So it's again very connected to the breathing exercise. Right? And it's just about connecting that air to the phonation. When we meet, I hope I can speak more about this with you and also address some of the things, particularly for women's voice, between the head voice and the chest voice, which also, of course, applies to the male voice between a falsetto voice and a full chest voice. As you may know, in classical music, it's more common for men to strengthen their chest voice and utilize the falsetto voice very seldomly. Whereas in pop music and in some musical theater, male voices will use their falsetto much more. And for women in a classical tradition, we strengthen the head tone, which is the higher tones, and bring them down. Although, of course, a chest voice or a belter will start here, with a nice chest voice and bring that up higher as they go. So just a few things about technique. I'm sure I've seen your videos. I know that you're already very good singers, so I'm sure that this is repetitive and a review for you, but I hope that we can talk more about these things. They're very, very important, and they are a lot of fun for me.
That was Carla Canales with, well, it's basically a mini masterclass of its own. I feel like I'm learning so much. I know that I've already watched it, but then like actually sitting down and watching it again, I'm taking so much notes.
Oh. Well, thank you. I mean, my one regret is I wore the same dress today. So I actually own more than one dress. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, as I said, this is all an oral tradition that's been passed on to me. And it's my job to pass it on. And I think you'll find the singing community is a very open community where we like to sort of exchange notes and tips and things. So this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the rest of the class here.
Me too, me too. And don't worry, we love reusing clothes because it's eco-friendly, right? Right. And today we also have a few video submissions from our JPAC community and a few alumni. Wow, you guys are alumni now. We have alumni from the JPAC Academy who went through 2.5 months of workshop for the last 5 years. And coincidentally, all women, yeah? All girls. So it's going to be very interesting. We're all girls, but with very different personalities and qualities to it. And so I would just like to know, like, what are your first impressions of these videos when you first saw
You
them?
guys are really, really, really good. I mean, I truly don't want to even touch on technique because I feel like what you've accomplished is so good already. If I were there in person, I think I would want to talk more about different repertoire choices and range in terms of like how many different characters you could play, maybe acting, things like that. The technique is very, very strong. I've tried to prepare a few notes and tips, but I really say this in the spirit of suggestions more than, I bow down to what you've accomplished. It's really, really strong. So congratulations.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to everyone who submitted their videos. They're awesome, awesome videos. Um, but of course, I think just like speaking as part of the community and like as a budding singer as well, we're always welcome for notes on technique. I feel like that's something that we're always learning. I mean, me personally, I've never taken a formal lesson ever.
Oh,
So
wow.
so I think all it like just like you said, everything comes from oral traditions. It comes from um, meeting all these different wonderful singers, and I think
I'm
they're
amazed. I mean, your video is so impressive. You've never had a voice lesson. If you think about singing as athletic, which I sometimes do, it's athleticism meets artistry, right? But
Mhm.
you wouldn't go and play like a football game or run a marathon without stretching first.
True.
And you would probably work with a coach or a team to improve because, having the outside ears or the outside coach can help you. And so I hope that no one will see working on technique as a sign of weakness, but rather if this is how good you are already without voice lessons, like just imagine how much better or more confident or more range you could acquire with some additional support and coaching. So it's just amazing to me that you've come so far without that kind of training. Congratulations.
Thank you. Shall we go on and see one of these videos, and
Yeah.
I'll leave it to you on where to start first.
I mean, I'm hoping we can get to all of them. I know we'll sort of do very truncated mini masterclasses with each of you because of the time. But again, I'm going to put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me. And I've also made sort of a 5-point recommendations for all of you, which I'm happy to say now and I'll say at the end. So my first recommendation for everyone I heard sing is, and this is already saying you guys are really, really good. I mean, the level is extremely high. I'm not just saying that, but truly, if you came to New York, you're well competitive with the folks here. So my first recommendation is feel free to try other genres. I heard some voices that I think would be really suited to pop and contemporary music. I mean, several that I think like, hey, have you thought about songwriting or work with a songwriter and do a pop album and put it out on Spotify. I heard some voices that I think would be really suited to classical, particularly with strong head voice. So we'll get to that. But like explore different genres because it will inform what you do as musical theater singers. So that was my first recommendation. Secondly, I recommend all women, and this is even before hearing you, train your head voice just as much, if not more, than your chest voice or your mixed voice. The advantage to training your head voice is it's much healthier way to sing. You're relying on the air rather than relying on the weight. So in opera, like we pretty much exclusively use our head voice. And what we learn to do is make it more beefy. So sometimes if I sing in my middle voice and I sing in the head voice, people will think I'm chesting. I'm not. I'm actually just using my head voice, but I've trained it to sound rounder or more beefy. And so in the end, that's how you can really sing for 20, 30, 40 years is by strengthening that head voice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. My third tip is show us who you are, like in your appearance. I think that, you know, some of you could really go further with your personality. If, you know, your personality is kind of rock and roll, like wear something that's rock and roll. If your personality is more like conservative, I don't know, like find ways to reflect that in your actual physical appearance, maybe even in how like you present your song or present yourself. But we want to see personality. Like personality is really, really great. And it's sort of afterwards what stands out about you, you know, like, oh, she seems really fun, or she seems really mysterious, or whatever. Like think about those things. The fourth tip is show us why you're connected to the song that you're singing. So like I should be able to, and this is an extreme, but I should be able to mute the video and understand the general emotion of the song. Is it sad? Is she happy? Is she confused? Like, and that's just the pure acting, facial acting expression. So that's an exercise too, is remove the voice, video yourselves at home, remove the voice, and then watch yourself and say, oh, did my acting connect to the expression of the song? And lastly, I mean, I'm emphasizing this a lot, but if you can, show us why you sing. And there's a lot of ways to do this. You know, some of you in the videos, I didn't request this, but I always recommend if you're doing any kind of audition or video, introduce yourself. So say like, take that moment before you sing and say, hi, my name is Carla Canales, and I'm really looking forward to singing for you today. You know, just something, one sentence, two sentences, the song I will be singing is, and then in that little mini speaking part, I see a little bit of like, oh, who is this person? You know? So I want to use every available opportunity to show people why I'm singing. Is it the joy in my eyes or in my face? Is it the crescendo I do? Whatever it is, find those ways to express your joy for singing or your love for singing or why this is so meaningful to you. So those are like my 5 general remarks. As you can see, I think only one of them is really a technical one about like, you know, just strengthen your head voice, but I would say this regardless to any women. And with that, let's dive into the videos. I'm happy to go in order, Jung. So just, you know, we can just go in order, and you feel free to start off, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So why don't we go? Let's make it interesting. Let's go in reverse order. let's go from the back and work our way up.
Great. That sounds great.
Rio, can we play from the very last on the folder? Yes. So we have Valen, which is Val is one of our participants from the JPAC Academy, and she is singing Little Miss Perfect.
Yes.
She braids my hair, I sit there blacking out for the first time. Next thing I know, I lose control. I find finally kiss her, but oh no, I see a face in my window. Then my brain starts to go na 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 na. No, you can't risk falling off your throne. La 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 la. Love is something you don't even know. Na 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 na. You can't risk falling off your throne. La 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 la. You don't even know. Rewind, induce amnesia. Deny the truth, it's easier. You're just confused. Believe her when she says there's nothing there. It's
All right, that was Val with Little Miss Perfect, and we have Val here with us. Yay! Usually I do
Yay,
this
Val,
before,
thank you so much. We're going to go through these like so quickly, which kills me because I would love to be able to spend like 10 or 15 minutes, but I think we have like 3. So you were one of the singers that in my mind showed personality. Like I loved the t-shirt and I loved the way you were into it. And I felt like, oh, okay, I sort of get a sense of like who this person is. And that really set you apart. So I love that. I also felt like with you, I could hear you super easily doing more contemporary music, pop music, things of that nature. So I really encourage you to pursue that. Why don't you tell me what would be one question or one thing that you would want to improve?
I think sometimes when I hit like that high note, the la 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 la, so like I get super confused. Like, I don't know how to do it because I think it's an F sharp. I don't know if I should do it in a head voice, but if I do it in a
Yes.
head voice,
The
it's
short answer, because we have no time, I'm just going to say
yeah. Okay.
absolutely yes. This is why, you know, for all women, I think that strengthening your head voice is so important. What I would do is practice it on an ooh. I don't know what the pitches are, but like la 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 la. Obviously, I'm an octave down. La 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 la. Ooh, like hit it on an ooh, ladies, so that you understand when you sing. The ooh vowel is what's going to give you the purest head tone. So when you're practicing like scales going upward, ooh is a great way to find and strengthen your head voice. And from ooh to o to ah, right? So I wouldn't go up to F sharps practicing head voice on an E because that's not very conducive. But what I would recommend you do is practice like either yodeling like a 1-5-1, like I'm just trying to think, like this also works for the chest voice. Ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. It's very early here. I haven't warmed up. Ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. So that's a little wobbly, but that's the idea is you're going from chest voice to head voice. Ooh, ooh, like really just flipping back and forth. And that might help you pop into your head voice, but also just practice like a very light head voice. Ooh, 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 like that, really, really, really super light and on that ooh vowel. And when you're getting to the song, definitely that note should be pure head voice. Like do not put any chest into that. So I think part of it for you is like feeling more comfortable with with the head voice up there and just like getting used to practicing that. You could even do sirens like woo, something like that, just to get you used to going up there. I'm sorry, I don't know if like the mic is good here, and I was not sure if I can give exercises like this, but I'm just trying to give you some tools to take with you. Does that make sense? Awesome. Yeah, one last tool maybe is also humming. I sometimes do things like I'll really try to warm it up because when you're in head voice, you should feel it buzz in the sinuses. Remember how I talked about the sinuses? So something like, so it's just a hum. But I'll try to warm up the sinuses while I'm doing it. So I can really feel that resonance. humming is a really good way also to feel more and more comfortable with your head voice, because it's very hard to chest in a hum. Like you're going to be more likely to use these resonators. Cool. I'm going through this so quickly. Again, forgive me. I'm putting my email in the chat here. Follow up with me anytime.
No problem at all. And we can hear you super clear. And I love those warm-ups. Those are some of them are really new. So it's really cool to find new warm-ups as well. Thank you so much, and thank you, Val, for sharing your wonderful rendition. We're gonna head on straight to our next video. We have Regina with "She Used to Be Mine" from Waitress.
Hi.
Just a little to bring back the fire in her eyes that's been gone, but it used to be mine. Oh, it used to be mine. She is messy.
I hate that we have to stop in the middle of it. It's
No.
so good, Regina. Thank you so much. Are you with us?
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
there
I'm
you
here.
are. Oh my gosh. I think that you have such a good voice, such a solid voice. The pitch is perfect. And not only is the pitch so perfect, it's like centered, like it's not under, it's not over, it's consistent, which to me means you are using your air really, really well. And that was clear on your long phrases. Like you're able to carry through a phrase really comfortably. I mean, I could go on and on. You were one of the voices that I definitely think you should work on opera. I mean, I hope you see that as a compliment, but I think you have such a natural head tone. I'd love to see you strengthen that. I'd love to see you also maybe experiment with vibrato in your head tone a little bit more. It kind of comes in on the long phrases. I could easily hear you doing like a little bit more fuller head voice singing. I don't know how high up you go, but I thought of Christine and Phantom. I thought of like some musical theater things, and even going back to like Rodgers and Hammerstein and some of the older Broadway musicals that really require that. Maria in West Side Story is another example. I mean, it's got a top C, like it's hard. So those are some of the repertoire things. One thing I will say, and I hope you take this as an opportunity. Like when I saw the black shirt and like it sort of was good because it allowed me to just focus on the voice, but I would love to see more of your personality. You know, just maybe show like a little hints of like, what's your favorite shirt? Or even if you could have introduced yourself, because there were little moments where you smile and I'm like, oh, I want to see that person more. Tell me, what would you like to, if you have a question or if there's something you wanted to improve, tell me about that.
Actually, I've been always classically trained, so I'm kind of used to singing classical songs, and I'm actually into opera, which is why maybe you can see that through my head voice.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm kind of actually struggling because there are many contemporary musics out there. I'm struggling to adjust to those songs. Like I have trouble in, as you see, I was trying to sing on chest voice, but then I go straight into head, which I don't know if that's a problem or not. But if so, how can I make it as if I'm singing in such a loud voice?
Well, first of all, this kind of goes to what we talked about at the beginning. Like, accept your voice. If your natural voice is strong in your head voice, that's great. I mean, that allows you to do so many things, and I would play on that strength. Because again, I understand like what you're saying about some of the contemporary repertoire, but you know, your strength might be Rodgers and Hammerstein. It might be some of the older things. It might be some of the more operatic things. It is so hard to cast a Christine or a Maria in West Side Story. Those singers are so difficult to come by. And I think that those roles might be great for you. But to your point, one exercise, I would actually give you the opposite exercise of what we just talked about previously. So with Val, I gave her, what was it? Ooh, ah. So for you, I would actually start out the head voice. Ooh, ooh. So I would go from head voice, try to drop it down, and you might have to start lower. Ooh, ooh. So you're starting in an ooh, which is going to be your pure head tone. Drop it down to an ah. Ooh, so really try to do a glissando when you go down. Ooh, ooh, so that you feel the transition, right? And you should feel it kind of vibrate down. You might go lower. Ooh, I don't know your voice well enough, but play around in the piano. I suspect that if you start on like an E or a D above middle C and go down the 5 notes, that might be a good place for you to play with it. And just kind of when you're going at the bottom, ooh, hear and play with like where that resonates, and then pull it back up to your head voice. So it's exactly the opposite of what I gave to Val, if that makes sense. Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You've now met Grizzly, my dog. But keep strengthening your head voice. And like I said, also to Val, I feel like you should focus a little bit on the chest voice for sure, so you feel more comfortable. But I would love to see you strengthen that head voice and bring in more vibrato and really feel more comfortable, and eventually bring that down into your more of a mix in your lower range.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla and Tere. We're gonna go a bit quick here. Next we have Prita with Pretty Funny from Dogfight.
Well, you shut the light off, turn the bed down. No more crying, don't you dare. You'll wake up sometime tomorrow and forget to even care. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? For a moment he convinced me I could be pretty funny.
Yeah, wow. So good. I want to say, like, this performance, to me, this felt like a performance, which I really appreciate. You were in the character, you utilized the drama of the words and the acting, even how you had the Zoom set up where it was like from the side. But there was one, no, I forget, but there's some moment where you like broke the voice at the very end of the phrase, and it was just so like emotional to me. And these very, very little ways, the way that you utilize the text is, so to me, I applaud you, because I really felt like you were performing. I understood why you sing. I understood what you were singing about. If I muted it, I got what was going on. And then of course your voice is glorious. You have a phenomenal instrument. Yeah, I would say my only like slight recommendation for you, because again, you have such a natural ability with your top and that float that you do when you go way up, I want you to even work on that more and feel even more comfortable with it. Like you're already super there, but I think you might feel more comfortable if you worked on it more and had even another 5 beats in your pocket and you're like, I can hang out here all day. Does that resonate for you, or like, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I actually struggle a lot with my head voice. I don't really have a strong, because I'm more of an alto and a mezzo soprano
Hmm.
range, and the part where for a moment he convinced me, but it's way up there, and I always, because it's an E, I tend to kind of constrain my vocal cords. So I was wondering if you have, whether or not you have any tips to make that head voice like beefier, as you said, and like more open, because I really struggle with that, even though it's just an E5. Yeah, it's E5, but it's really like in this song, it's really my point of struggle.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're clearly like a really good technical singer. First advice, and I say this for all of the women, if you're a mezzo or you're a soprano, you should have at least a high A, like an octave and a half up from middle C. Like that's a minimum. As a mezzo soprano, I have a high C, and I even go up to E flat sometimes. And you should definitely be working on your full range every, like I said, every 5 to 6 days a week. I would recommend every day. So the way I would approach this for you is I would do scales going up, and I would practice them on different vowels. And I would definitely, with your voice, I would not stop before a B flat. Like I think you need to work on having an extra 5 notes up there so that when you get to the E feels like a piece of cake. I tend to do scales very quickly. Again, I haven't warmed up, but if I were to do something, I'll do something like so that's on an E, right? I would practice them on E, A, A, maybe even so I would switch the vowel and just play around up there. And the first day you do it, it might feel really awkward. You might want to go really slow, but the more you do it, the more fluent you're going to feel. I just think you need to work that part of your voice like super frequently and just go up there. Also, you could try arpeggios. You could try the same exercises that we were doing before. You definitely have it. I feel like with you, you just need to go higher and get used to it. Now, you also mentioned the E vowel. The E vowel is, as I said earlier, the hardest to sing up there. So like you did it beautifully. I wouldn't change a thing to what you did, but I think that the more that you practice the scales on E, A, A, the more you're going to feel comfortable doing this kind of work on the different vowels. Does that help? I mean, your voice is so good. I don't really want to touch it too much because you really have a natural ability at both to sing and to act. And I would really bring that out. What other songs do you sing? I'm curious.
Well, I almost sing almost exclusively like musical theater songs. I feel like my type of voice is more suited for that. I try to go towards pop and contemporary, but then I always tend to sing differently than I do when I sing like Broadway or musical theater. But
yeah, no. I see you in Broadway and musical theater. I wondered if you do like Defying Gravity or anything like I could hear you in some of the stuff from Wicked.
Oh yeah, that I haven't. That's a little too challenging for me, but I will definitely.
Oh no, you've got it. I would go for it. You've got a great voice.
Yeah, but thank you so much. Yeah, it's so clear. I didn't thought about those scales going like a really sped up way. So I think that's also like would bring lightness.
I wouldn't worry about sustaining high notes right now for you. I would just worry about like going up, touching it, coming down, like really, really quickly. So but go up a lot higher than E5.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. You're amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Frita. It's wonderful. It's one of my personal favorites as well, Dogfight. Next, we have Nasha. Nasha with I Dreamed a Dream, the world famous I Dreamed a Dream from Les Mis.
a dream, and time gone by. When hope was high and lived for living. A dream that love would never die. A dream that God would be forgiven. Then I was young and unafraid. And dreams were made and used and wasted. There was no ransom to be paid. No song unsung, no wine untasted.
Oh, I wish I could.
Hey, I love that song. Thank you for singing that song. It's one of my favorites. I just think you have a fantastic voice also. Like, again, similarly, I would recommend you work on like your top voice and just strengthen that, because I feel like where this song sits is kind of middle. But rather than, you don't want to bring up a chest voice in this song. You just want to have a beefier, rounder head tone. Your tone is beautiful. The one thing I feel could, in this case, be a little bit more worked on is your diction. And I mean, you guys all have astounding diction in English, which I know how difficult it is to sing in another language. It's not easy. But in this song, because especially the excerpt that you did, once you get into "But the tigers," da, 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 it's like a little more dramatic, but you chose the sort of beginning part, which is so soft and whispered, so that then you really have to utilize the words and the text to convey the emotion. And so I think you could do more with that. I think you were already going in that direction, and I could tell, but I think you could play a little bit more with the diction in that expression. Does that make sense?
Yes, all right.
Do you have any questions or something that you'd like to address?
I just want to know that how to sing a song that maybe there's a part in Broadway or musical song, there's a part that you have to talk. Like in I Dream a Dream song, in the first part, it was like in the first of the song that we have to talk at first, and then when I want to know how can sing or talk like that.
I think you just have to make it your own. I mean, anytime there's speaking of text in the middle of a song, you really have to practice that. In many ways, I think it's harder than the singing, because you have to break from your singer voice to go to the speaking voice, but you have to make it organic. You have to really make it sound like the character would do it. And it just takes a lot of practice. There's really no secret tip, but you want to practice it, record yourself, listen back so that it feels natural, rather than, okay, now I'm singing and now I'm talking or something, so it just takes a lot of practice.
All right.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nasha. We're gonna head straight to our next video, which is Desmonda, from a personal favorite musical of mine. We have Fable from the La in the Piazza.
For the eyes on a bridge and a pouring rain, not the eyes but the part you can't explain, for the arms you could fall into forever, for the joy that you thought you'd never know, for here at last away you go, to a man who looks for you. If you find in the world, in a wide, wide world, that someone sees, that someone knows you, live if you can now, my Clara.
Wow, what a voice. Oh my gosh. And the range on your voice, I'm like so impressed. I really took away also, you had a clear sense of like, what is the song about? What are you doing? The long phrases, the build. What did you tell me? Like, I feel we're running out of time. How can I help you? What did you feel you wanted to work on?
So I'm actually a very chesty singer. I
Yeah,
sing
yeah.
mostly, and I've never been also vocally trained, especially in
Mhm.
classical voice. So, but I love singing songs like the Piazza and all the classical stuff, but I just don't know how to do it. So, especially at that part with the well, like the sustained
Yeah,
part, like
yeah.
for some reason, it's so I don't know which part of my of my space is to open or like to kind of like to go to that note, because even though I can do the notes easily without the sustained
Right,
notes and
right.
strong volume, but when I do that specifically with that vowel and uh, that long sustained part, it's kind of really hard for me to do. So just want to know how to strengthen
Yeah,
my
I
voice.
mean, I wish I could get all of you girls in a room and we could do some head voice exercises. Maybe that's what we need to do for the next time. It's the same thing. Just work on your head voice. Like, I think what you're describing that's happening here is your voice wants to turn naturally, and you're probably a little bit afraid of letting it do that. You sort of need to just let go and let that turn to your head voice and let the vibrato come in naturally. So, a few things that can help. I'm sort of trying to throw out additional tips. One is when I did the in the video, try on that first because you won't judge yourself as much. Whatever the pitch is, just like let it go on something like that. Like, so that you're not judging yourself, but you're just sustaining that pitch. I also think anytime you're sustaining something for that long, try it on an oo vowel first. But I definitely think, again, this is a matter of like, you're not going to fix this with one quick thing. It sounds beautiful, but what I would like for you is to be able to easily crescendo those notes and put vibrato in. And that the two go together, right? You might start it softly and then the vibrato comes in and that allows it to crescendo. And so the way that you want to get to that is by daily exercises in your head voice. And, I recommend doing exercises like the scales where you're going to go up quickly. And then slowly you might want to start doing something like arpeggios or, things where you're starting to sustain the top note. Like if I were to do back to the scale. So I might then start to like sustain that top note for a beat and then longer and longer. But if you do these kinds of exercises for like a month, you'll see a difference. Even in 2 weeks, I'm sure you'll see a difference. It's a great voice. You have a wonderful instrument. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So sorry, we're gonna go even quicker now. We have Callista with For Forever from Dear Evan Hansen next.
There he goes, racing toward the tallest tree. From far across the yellow field, I hear him calling, follow me. There we go, wondering how the world might look from up so high. One foot after the other, one branch then to another. I climb higher and higher, I climb till the entire sun shines on my face. And I suddenly feel the branch give way. I'm on the ground, my arm goes numb. I look around and I see him coming to get me. He's coming to get me. And everything's okay.
Yes. Awesome.
Good. So good. This is a great song. I also feel like with your voice, it's a little bit more of a chesty voice. So in a way, I would say like I'm going so quickly, and forgive me, Kalista, because I wish again we had more time. But I would approach both of the exercises, the chest voice and the head voice. I feel like you're naturally a lower singer. You naturally sit in a lower place, but I want you to feel even more confident there. So, you know, if you're going yeah, yeah, ooh, yeah, ooh, so things like that, where you start in a place of confidence and kind of try to play around with the different vowels. You could also go, yeah. Sometimes, guys, also a tip is if singing from one vowel to the next is challenging, like that might sound challenging. So you can go like ya, and try to like loosen your jaw as you do it, or ka, yeah, da, ba. Put a consonant in front of it just to help you go from one note to the next, and then remove that consonant so that you can achieve the legato, if that makes sense. I would do a lot first to strengthen your chest voice, because that is where you naturally sit, and then start to move it upward. I also felt like you have a really fantastic idea for the building of the long phrases, and try to just like carry that through, because that's also where you're going to be able to show the emotion of the character. Do you have any questions for me, or is there anything specifically I can help you address?
Yeah, one thing. Even though I'm more comfortable in my lower register, I do struggle with lower notes. Do you have any exercises on how to like strengthen your lower notes?
Yeah, I would do exactly what I just suggested, like this sort of stuff like that, where you're just like really down in that area. Me, me, ma, mo, mo, ma, me, ma, mo, and really work on that, and then bring it up more as you go. Me, me, ma, mo, ma, me, ma, mo. Like start at the bottom as low as you can, and then slowly start to bring it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cal. Now we're at our very last video, which is my video. I thought it would be a good idea for me to not go first, but I think the last is also as nerve-wracking. So this is No One Else from Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812.
Oh, the snow in the moonlight, and your childlike eyes, and your distant smile. I'll never be this happy again. You and I, you and I, you and I. And no one else.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's such a treat to get to hear you. I was really blown away, because we've been, of course, communicating on a different level.
Yeah.
I love your voice. I'm again like going so fast, which is killing me. And I'm also, guys, trying to answer a lot of your questions on the Q&A. So forgive me also for putting in rather short answers there. But Ajahn, your chest head transitions are fantastic. of all of the singers that we saw today, I felt like you are really solid, and maybe you can give a masterclass to everyone on how you go from the chest to the head. And you also have a great mixed voice, which is something that we didn't even talk about today. And that's really the key, because as much as you want to have a strong chest voice and a strong head voice, what you don't want to have is a hole in the middle. And having that mix in the middle is really good. So I'm going to just defer to you. I think that like you should take a master class for everyone else and teach us how to do that, because you've got that nailed. You've got a great legato. You've got a great top. It's almost like a falsetto in your case. So one question I would have is like, if you wanted to put vibrato in there, or if you want to leave it as it is. I always think having the ability to choose and do both is really good, because then, you know, you have more tricks up your sleeve. The one thing I would say is like, I could use much more build emotionally, dynamically. Like you have all of the technical abilities. So then it's like, okay, plan the journey. Like, where is it going to be piano? Where is it going to be forte? What's that going to be like? And also more facial expression. I felt like if I had muted, I wasn't sure entirely what was going on. So, but the technique is really good, my friend. I mean, you're in a great place.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really weird because I grew up thinking that I was an alto, and then I figured out musical theater, and I thought, oh, soprano is actually pretty nice, comfortable place to be as well. So
yeah. I think that's the thing is I really want to discourage anyone from thinking about soprano or alto. I started as a soprano. I was then switched to alto. I've sung both soprano and alto roles. And as I said, when I warm up quickly on scales to a high E flat, and that's above high C. And I have a pretty good sustained, at this point, maybe a B natural. I wouldn't want to sustain more than that on stage in public, but in order to have a sustained B natural, B flat, I have to have that E flat warming up quickly. So that's why range and, you know, really doing those exercises is so important. I want to just address two more questions that were in the chat that I didn't get to. One is about, again, head voice and clear tone. I think that one of the things I'm sort of starting to understand with you guys is like, you're really making a differentiation between head voice and chest voice. Maybe try to just think of things in your head voice. I think right now everyone can use the strengthening of head voice. So like if I were to start a scale in chest voice and then flip to head, I don't think I could do it. I would have to break to flip. So I'm actually going to start it in a head voice. Yeah, I would. Yeah. I'm trying to start in the chest and I can't quite do it. Now, another trick I didn't really talk about is the vowels. E vowels are going to be the most closed. So E's are actually going to be your friend when you're lower, but they're high. When you go higher to your head voice, it's harder to do an E. Ooh is going to be your friend up there. So you may want to do a scale where you start on an E and then flip. Something like that, right? I hope that, again, that the audio is okay when I'm demonstrating. But I also think like I'm getting some questions about vibrato. Vibrato should be a natural occurrence. It's something like what one of our singers described. Like if you're sustaining a note and you start to hear a little flutter, that's probably your vibrato wanting to come in. You can't force the vibrato, but you have to sort of just work on it really naturally. And actually, I would recommend working on it in the chest voice too. Instead, I could just go, that's no vibrato. But if I just sort of naturally let that air go, there's a little bit of a pulsing vibrato. So that might be an easier way for you to access your vibrato before you go up, if that makes sense. It's a lot of like technique, and I feel so badly to throw this at you guys without, further support. But I really hope A, that we can do this again. I love talking about technique. And B, I've put my email in here. So please reach out. it's difficult to answer these questions on Zoom. I have a few masterclasses I've given on my website. If you go to my site, carlacanales.com, I gave them in China, and I talk about a lot of like tips and maybe more how they apply to opera, but I think a lot of it would be similar for you guys. So feel free to check those out. There are a ton of great resources online, but you have some really stellar singers in this group. Ajung, whenever you do that masterclass on the mixed voice, I would like to attend. So, utilize each other also as resources. Don't be scared, to sing in front of your colleagues. It seems like a group with a lot of love and support, and you can really learn a lot. My best friends are mezzo-sopranos, and we sit around and say, hey, can you hear me do this part? And I'm having trouble here. And how do you do this? And, that's how you can learn and grow. So I really encourage you to do that. And please reach out. I'd love to hear more from you.
Thank you so much, Carla, for all these information, all these new tips and techniques, and just all the insights that you gave us, whether it's technique or it's something beyond that, like appearance and performance and personality. Those are some things that sometimes you overlook, right? And it really shows that singing is not just like an isolated sort of activity, but it's sort of like
right.
all round thing. And so with that, I am very sorry to say that we are running out of time. And
I wish we could do this like every week. I really, truly love talking about technique. So hopefully we'll find a way to keep it going. But guys, I'm super accessible. Like I said, email me, follow me on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, my website, like just drop me a line if you have a question. I couldn't always answer everything here because I was trying to also focus with the singers at hand. But, I hope also that you will keep sharing this with the future generations, because as I said, this is an oral tradition. And thank you so much, because I'm so impressed and inspired and motivated by the singers I heard today. So thank you for giving me that. And I just really hope we stay in touch.
Thank you, Carla. Definitely. We'll definitely find a way to stay in touch and, do this again somehow.
Let's do it. All right.
Do it. We're up for it. All right. So that is the end of our very first Learn from Broadway workshop. We will have another workshop next Saturday. So please stay tuned to JPAC social media, at Jakarta Pac, on Instagram and Twitter, for the latest info. You also have Carla's. We also have Carla's email. If you guys ever want to get in touch and have questions, it's carla@carlacanales.com, right? And don't forget, we also at JPAC, we also have the last 5 years, which will be streamed starting from 25th of June. Do check out our Instagram and our website as well on how to stream it. So we will have the recital of the JPAC Academy. You've seen a lot of the wonderful talent earlier. It's such a pleasure to see them perform really and fall in love with the story all over again. The recital will be streamed from 17th to 24th of June. And then from 25th of June to the 9th of July, we will have the main production of the last 5 years streamed. So do check out our social media to get your tickets. And thank you so much, Carla. Thank you so much, the U.S. Embassy and the Arts Envoy program for making this possible. And we will see you very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Times have changed, and we've often rewound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. If today any shock they should try to stem, instead of landing on Plymouth Rock would land on them. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking, but now God knows anything goes.
leave poor father because they decide they'd rather be tennis pros. Anything goes. If driving fast cars you like, if low bars you like, if old hymns you like, if bare limbs you like, if Mae West you like, or me undressed you like, why nobody will